Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Monday, August 21st, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 rundown best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Monday in Major League Baseball. First up, it's the Chicago Cubs taking on the Detroit Tigers. Javier Assad and Alex Faedo are your starters. Now, it's tough to go against the Chicago Cubs when they're facing a right-handed starting pitcher right now. I mean, this team is number 2 in baseball in isolated power against righties in the last 30 days. Number 2 in team OPS, low strikeout rate, high walk rate. Alex Faedo, I do think he's better than his current ERA, and we've seen that in his last couple of games. But still, a 5.16 ERA overall. I do think Chicago gets to him. I also don't love this Tigers bullpen, so I do think the Cubs are the play. Even though I'm not a big fan of Javier Assad going forward, I do think there's some regression concerns to his game. I would lean towards the over in this one, but I also like the Chicago Cubs to grab the W on the road. Next up, the San Francisco Giants taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. No official starter for San Francisco. Could be a bullpen game again for the Giants. Aaron Nola going for the Phillies. We know it's been a disappointing season for Aaron Nola just in terms of his personal numbers, 4.58 ERA, but the Phillies have won a majority of his games for most of the season, at least in the last two and a half months or so, in the month of June, July, and so far in August, the Phillies are winning most of his games. And his last start against the Blue Jays, it wasn't great on paper, 5 innings, 4 runs, but he kept them in the ballgame. Phillies wanted to win that game 9-4, cover the run line as well. I think we see another win here from Philadelphia. I mean, the San Francisco Giants are a good matchup for Nola, who, the Giants in the last month, dead last in baseball and team OPS against righties, dead last in isolated power, pretty steep strikeout rate. I think Nola's good enough here. I think the Phillies bats back him up. Give me the Phillies here on the money line. Next up, we go to PNC Park as the Cardinals take on the Pirates. We're going to see Matthew Liberatore and Bailey Falter as the projected starters. Not my favorite game on the board. 2 lefties in this matchup. We know the Cardinals do have better offensive numbers against lefties in the last month or so, and pretty much, basically all season. But Matthew Liberatore, a 6.12 ERA, and even steeper expected ERA, right around 6.5. It tells me he's just not MLB ready right now. His last start against the Oakland A's, one of the weakest lineups in baseball. He goes 4 1/3 innings, gives up 5 earned runs, 6 total runs, and 10 base hits with 3 walks to go with it. His control's been an issue this season. The Cardinals have lost 4 of his last 5 starts. Bailey Falter may not be my favorite option on the mound, but I do think we're getting a good price with Pittsburgh here. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Pirates with the better, who I believe is the better starting pitcher in Falter, and the better bullpen in this game as well. Give me Pittsburgh at home. Next up, we go to the NL East as the New York Mets take on the Atlanta Braves. David Peterson and Bryce Elder are your starters. Now, we know this Braves lineup has crushed righties all season long. They've been one of the best lineups in baseball against right-handed pitchers, but they're also not too shabby against lefties. At least in the last month, this team is number 2 in baseball in OPS, number 1 in isolated power, a low strikeout rate, a high walk rate. And the high walk rate really has me concerned the most for David Peterson, because in his career, we've seen him have decent strikeout numbers, but the control has always been an issue, whether it's missing inside the zone, giving up sharp contact, or missing outside the zone and walking a lot of batters. We see him walk 6 batters his last game against the Pirates, 36 walks across 72 innings this season. And, I just don't trust him here against this very good Braves lineup. I think Peterson struggles early on. I don't love the Mets bullpen behind him either. In the last month, this Mets bullpen's got the 4th highest SIERA and an ERA above 5. But, I do think the Mets will be able to chip in some runs offensively. Bryce Elder, his last start, he was unbelievable. 7 innings, a shutout ball. But, I do think there's some regression concerns in his game. The Mets are a solid lineup against righties. So I'm going to take the over here in New York, Atlanta, but I also like the Braves on the run line, laying those 1.5 runs. Next up, the Boston Red Sox taking on the Houston Astros. James Paxton and Jose Urquidy are your starters. Jose Urquidy in pretty good form after his last 2 appearances. One of those a start against the Angels. 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, only 1 run. The other one out of the bullpen against the Mariners, so 2 tough divisional matchups. 2 innings, no earned runs in that one, no walks as well, 3 strikeouts. And, the Red Sox are not an easy matchup, but Urquidy's been better at Minute Maid Park. I think he's good enough here because I like his bats to back him up. James Paxton's not been great on the road this season, an ERA just below 4, but he's also been giving up a lot of sharp contact in general. In his last few starts, 5 homers his last 3 games combined. Facing the Houston Astros, a very low strikeout rate, high walk rate, the number 4 in baseball in team OPS against lefties in the last month, number 2 in isolated power. I think there's a really tough matchup for James Paxton in this Red Sox bullpen. So give me the Houston Astros on the money line with a lean towards the over as well. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Chicago White Sox. Luis Castillo and Touki Toussaint are your starters. Pretty brutal spot here for the Chicago White Sox. I mean, first of all, you have to face Luis Castillo, who's pitching well this season, a 3.23 ERA overall. Better numbers at T-Mobile Park, but still solid sub-4 ERA on the road. His last start wasn't his best against the Royals, but he still went 7 innings, giving the Mariners some innings. They won that game in the end, and the Mariners have won each of his last 4 starts now. The White Sox in the last month have really struggled against righties, 27th in isolated power, 28th in team OPS, strikeout rate just below 24%. But not only that, but you also are coming off a Coors Field series. You have no days off in between that series with the Rockies. We know that affects the hitters and pitchers as well in the bullpen. And I just think it's a pretty brutal game here for Chicago. Touki Toussaint, an ERA above 4, 4.47, 1-5 record. Just hasn't been in great form as of late, giving up a lot of sharp contact. 4 home runs his last 3 games. The walks are piling up as well. At least 4 walks in each of his last 3 starts. The Mariners are a red-hot team right now. Good bullpen, good lineup. Give me the Seattle Mariners here laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, it's the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Graham Ashcraft and Lucas Giolito are your starters. I love the price we're getting with the Cincinnati Reds in this game. I mean, this has been one of the more profitable teams on the road this season. They've been better on the road than at Great American Ballpark. Graham Ashcraft's in good form. He's got a lot of quality starts as of late, pitching deep into ball games, keeping the ball on the ground. Another game against the Guardians last time out, 7 innings, 3 runs. Wasn't enough for a win in that game, but I do think the Reds offense backs him up here. Lucas Giolito just has not pitched very well as a member of the Angels. A lot of home runs, a lot of extra base hits, a lot of earned runs, and the Angels are 1-3 in his first 4 starts with those 3 losses by 2 or more runs. The Reds have solid numbers against righties in the last 30 days, and they have the better bullpen in this matchup, in my opinion. We know this Angels bullpen's been one of the worst in the league overall this season. In the last month, an ERA of 5.6. To me, we're getting a really good price as the underdog with the Cincinnati Reds. I'll take them on the money line. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Oakland A's. We're going to see no official starter for either of these teams right now. We're going to see bullpen games for both of these teams. Spencer Watkins could also go for the Oakland A's. Really, no matter who's going to be on the bump to start this game, I think we see a high-scoring game and a high-scoring series. You got 2 teams that offensively have been better, I would say, in the second half of the season, especially Kansas City, than in the first half, but still 2 teams that have 2 of the worst bullpens and overall pitching staffs in the league. In the last month, these are your top 2 Sierras in baseball in the bullpen. 4.8 for Oakland, 4.74 for Kansas City. Kansas City's bullpen above 5 in the last 30 days in terms of ERA. And I do think when you look at the Royals' numbers against righties in the last month, number 3 in baseball in team OPS, top 10 in baseball in isolated power, a low strikeout rate. Hey, Oakland's also there, top 10 in baseball in isolated power against righties. So I'm going to take the over here in Kansas City, Oakland. Could take the over throughout the rest of this series as well. Next up, the Texas Rangers taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Jordan Montgomery for Texas, no official starter for Arizona. It's tempting to go with the Diamondbacks here because this team has played better baseball the last week or so than we saw, right after the All-Star break. But it's still a really tough matchup for him offensively against Jordan Montgomery. He's pitching well. He's in good form. And Diamondbacks have just not been great against lefties this season. In the last month, those numbers reflect that as well. Montgomery's first 3 starts as a member of the Rangers, all 3 quality starts. Good strikeout numbers, good control. Only 2 walks in those 18 innings of work. I got to go with the Rangers here. This lineup is strong. The starting pitching option's good. The bullpen's not great right now, an ERA above 5 in the last month, but neither is Arizona's with an ERA above 6 in the last 30 days. So I'll lean towards the Rangers here and take them on the money line. And your final game for Monday's card in Major League Baseball, it's the Miami Marlins and the San Diego Padres. Johnny Cueto and Blake Snell are your starters in this one. Johnny Cueto, he's just not been good enough for Miami as of late. They've lost 4 of his last 5 starts. He had plenty of leads in his last game against the Houston Astros. The Marlins bats got to Houston early, but Cueto could not hold on to those leads. Gave up 2 home runs, makes it now 4 straight games with at least 1 home run. 5 total runs, 4 of those were earned, 7 base hits in that 6-5 Astros win. The Padres' numbers against righties in the last month haven't been the best, but still, Blake Snell has been one of the best starting pitchers in baseball in the last, since really the All-Star break and even before that. I mean, his last 5 starts, 3 earned runs or fewer, all 5 of those games. Good strikeout numbers. The control's always a little bit of a concern with Blake Snell. He walks a good amount of batters, but he's been able to navigate that. His last 5 starts, all wins for San Diego as well. And they face some tough lineups. The Rangers, the Dodgers, the Orioles. So give me the San Diego Padres here, laying the 1.5 runs. And that's it. Those are the games for Monday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.